genau das sagen. You are left.
Sind wir schon drauf?
Ja, wir sind schon drauf. So, welche Episodennummer haben wir denn nochmal? 36?
Was steht denn da in der Überschrift?
Okay. Hello and welcome from Las Vegas from the VMware Explore for VCD Roundtable episode 36. We are live here, third day of the Explore, depending on whether you count Monday or Tuesday as the starting day. Keynote was on Tuesday. We wanted to give you a bit of an update on what we saw, what we experienced during the conference, how the feeling and everything else was. But before we do that, quick intro.
Here, Sasha, welcome from Vegas, from our customer briefing center.
Hello, Matthias, also welcome from Vegas.
Hello, Toby here as well. Also welcome from Vegas.
Good. So, who wants to talk about the overall conference experience?
I think I'm best for that. So my overall experience or feeling is like we have just a few attendees compared to last year's, and the feelings from my perspective are a bit mixed. So I talked a lot with people at the community event yesterday, and it's like it's half and half. If Hock shows up somewhere and gives a speech and shares his ideas and his vision with the folks, everyone is pretty supportive and likes the strategy and the vision. But on the other hand, so especially with the community event yesterday, we had a very few challenging questions towards Hock, and he had an answer for every single one of it. So I think that was really nice that Hock shared his vision and strategy with us in person.
Yeah. So from what we hear, it sounds like audience is roughly somewhere between 5,000 to 6,000. I think no one actually gave any official number. Of somewhere in the early hours, it was still set around 7,000, but then more or less everybody I spoke to was more or less reflecting more somewhere between 5 to 6. More towards the lower end of those, and that is a reality. It was also from my experience when I have been on the solution exchange and stuff like that, considering that at least we had normally had half the Moscone Center or the complete expo area here used for that, considering what you see at AWS reInvent, that was a completely different scenario. What we could also dramatically, or not dramatically, see is and I mean, we have seen that the weeks before the conference already, that they were still trying to sell sponsorships for different scenarios. There was by far not that much signage or anything else. I mean, we did come in by car from Palo Alto, but people who came in at the airport said there was not one sign or anything. There are no taxi cabs or anything with signs on them. Even in the hotel, you really need to be at the conference to see the signage of the Explore conference.
Oh, no, I have one thing to add, because the hotel room view I have towards the opposite building, there is a huge, like, a video wall or something, and there was a big NetApp advertisement. So that really belonged to VMware Explore.
Was that belonging to Explore, or was that
Yes,
belonging
because
to the Cisco conference?
A good one, I don't know. I think Explore, because they mentioned Explore. So
Yeah, that sounds like Explore, but there was a Cisco sales kickoff going on in parallel, plus I think Mercedes-Benz, and all three of them here in the hotel.
But I haven't seen any of the guys of the other two events. It's just a big
Have you
hotel.
looked out for them?
No.
Okay. So, so it's a different experience. It's also a different experience to have only a 1 hour keynote, because I think I remember in the past keynotes were 1.5 to 2 hours. It was not 1 hour. That was different. I think it kind of reflected the storyline. I found it also good that, Hock clearly tries to actually find his way back with the communities and trying to elaborate that those who are with the whole story, that he doesn't really differentiate between customers, partners, and stuff like that. So he tries to really bridge the gap from that perspective.
I have a very interesting example because you mentioned the bridging the gap. So in the community event yesterday, we had one guy asking Hawk, we're currently running VVF in our infrastructure, and is there a SKU to upgrade those licenses to VCF? Because currently I think there is none. And Hawk said, that is not a problem, just send me an email and I will convert the licenses. He didn't say for free, but so at least it seems that Broadcom is aware that some companies have opted in for VVF and want to go the VCF route because of the latest and greatest announcement, what we talk about later. And secondly, the airport, because we came in by plane, I agree. So the airport, Vegas airport, looked like Vegas airport. That's it.
Yeah,
no advertisement, no signs. I know it was Tuesday,
it
but
was Tuesday
still,
already.
it was just for the housing officially began on Thursday,
Friday.
so we were
Friday.
Friday, we were just 2 or 3 days earlier. So nothing directed, guided to VMware Explore. That was weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, on the story you mentioned before, what's also quite interesting is to really get now the feeling what has happened in the last 6 to 9 months. On the partner meeting, clearly mentioned that VMware had 9,000 SKUs related to what we know now as VCF, and they brought it down to 4. So this is quite something which was amazing to see how the whole license stuff has been stripped off and made it much easier. Still, they are working on it, but also there was the clear commitment. If you now have problems, please reach out to us. We will solve it now.
And I mean, I was on the, we are a longstanding partner on the executive advisory board, and that meeting actually more or less started off with Broadcom, clearly agreeing that the last couple of months were not necessarily ideal, not necessarily as they planned them to be. But as Toby said, it's like what we are talking about is a complete transition which happened here. It's basically the complete transition, whether it was changing the partner program, changing the ERP system, changing the SKU numbering, changing all of that. Was it painful? I think that was what every partner agreed on. Are there still challenges with it? Yes. But you need to think about the size of it. And one example which I made in the last couple of months is quite a few times is what you need to bring to your mind is this had a massive cost for Broadcom. Or, I mean, in the long run, it's going to be working pretty well. But considering that you have a company which has 10 billion in revenue, and you more or less at least shut it down for several months, everybody can do the math by themselves. And they took that and still actually keep moving on with it. And I think so overall, we will get there. It was an interesting discussion also there from a partner perspective. The discussions in many areas were very positive. I mean, there were smaller issues here and there still being worked on, but I think overall we are making progress. But Sasha, you were at the service provider event.
Yeah, so on the advisory board for the service providers, it was interesting. So they showed all what happens in the last months. They really clear that please update your usage meter, run your usage meters, change to the new licenses. That's very important. And try to get as soon as possible to VCF. So
I think is there an official end date for the old licenses when you need to have migrated them?
So what we got from many service providers who doesn't join a Premier or Pinnacle partner, it was really clear they have a new end date of end of September.
Yeah, which is
this year.
Which is exactly what I heard as well. It's like all license keys need to be changed by end of September. Anything else might cause all kinds of other systems to kick off and actually report back. So this is finally forming the new model. But I think overall we are now finally making the progress. I mean, we see all the license keys for our providers by now. We have the ability to finally report all the details for the end customers. There's still a lot of work to be done, but we have everything in place, and we are ready to replace everything and get everything up and running. But also, I was actually surprised when I saw the numbers of service providers, because the plan was always like 500, 600. It was repeated today, but it seems like currently we are more towards 340, 350 in total. So 90 Pinnacle, 250 Premier providers, and considering that at least officially the signage phase is done, it's going to be interesting. Especially considering that there were 400 partners on the white label hosting list.
That's a very interesting topic. So the numbers we don't have are CSPs who are doing white label as a secondary right now. So maybe that is something we saw in a few discussions, that even some larger CSPs were thinking of just using white label instead of doing a contract with Broadcom.
But they are still on the list. So that is where I think it's going to be interesting what's really going to happen. So we expect at least a lot of motion coming up in the white label program and in the white label systems in the next couple of weeks still. But yeah, maybe let's get out of the contract corner. People told us often enough on our podcast we should not actually keep that one too much. We saw the huge announcements for VCF 9, which was not really a big surprise. There were enough rumors in the last couple of weeks already about VCF 9 coming. There is no official GA date, but we were more than once told that this is not going to be a multi-year project to get there. It's potentially not even a year's project until we see that. So it's going to be much quicker. And from all we hear from the different BUs, it's going to be what we pre-estimated last year already, where we said it's like the priorities for everything are going to be integration, and simplicity. And from all what we have seen so far for VCF 9, that seems to be exactly the case. And what you could also see, and some people already said, is like there was just actually a mentioning of VCF 9 moving forward. But maybe who wants to start with the technical storylines?
So I'm not starting with the technical storyline. So what I'm really impressed with is the speed Broadcom took to actually build VCF 9 and moving forward. So the speed is highly aggressive, and I'm really impressed by that. I think another one is what they're really working hard on is stability, and also the ease of use, and that the installation is really working, and that all the integrations are really working. But that's something Hock said right from the beginning. We're now focusing on stability and ease of use instead of new features.
And everything running under the top level title, private cloud, is the future. So this is also something which maybe we should mention, that clearly the announcement has also been private cloud first. So he's clearly focusing, or VMware now clearly focusing on VCF. And I would like to rephrase your sentence, Matthias, because you mentioned integration into different products. I would more or less say what we have seen, that not the product will integrate to each other, the product will be combined to one solution.
Maybe streamlining.
Streamlining is the phrase, yeah. But yeah, VCF 9 was the only announcement. So we don't know what the hypervisor name will be. Okay, we can guess something, but we don't do that. So only VCF 9 has been announced with major topics have been memory management will be dramatically increased, that there will be memory optimization directly in the hypervisor. Then the whole private AI story, which is the next interesting game changer, still together with NVIDIA. And what we have seen so far, only with NVIDIA, kind of.
Let's see.
Let's see. Yeah, what else have you seen?
One interesting feature is One interesting point for the service providers, but it seems to be not 100% clear if that's already going to be with the 9-point initial release, is that what we were used to see as VCDR, so the commercial version, which usually ran, which was the Datrium acquisition, which was there for customers to build disaster recovery towards the Datrium cloud, or then VMware Cloud, and then in the end for recovery in VMC on AWS, is coming into VCF 9 as a side-to-side mechanism. So you can use that internally, which also most likely is going to be the baseline for the replacement of the VCDA disaster recovery feature. So this is more a guessing for us at the moment, but we are getting there seamlessly. And again, it's showing very, very clearly that Broadcom is trying everything to make a very, very fast progress to solve these things.
Also, because Toby started with those additional features within VCF 9, another one is the DPUs. There were rumors that DPUs might be deprecated, yes or no, but that was only a rumor, that's it. And with the latest announcement of VCF 9, Broadcom made really clear DPU seems to be a core functionality within the virtualization layer. And I think that's a great way going forward, because with the whole strategy in terms of security, with the new vDefend, let's call it vDefend package, or the vDefend area, with all the IDS, IPS functionality, we need to offload those functionality to hardware, because otherwise you're not getting a proper consolidation ratio on the virtualization layer. So I think that's a great way going forward.
One thing which I think is important, considering the quickly coming back to the memory management, this is going to be highly valuable for service providers. I mean, in the past, service providers were tuning for memory to actually get the VRAM licensing correct. Now that we are on core licensing, they try to get as much running on one core, where they said it's like, yeah, but RAM is expensive. As far as I understood out of the announcement, that can actually solve that. Do you want to cover that a bit?
Just one question in between. Is 1 terabyte of NVMe cheaper than 1 terabyte of memory?
I would say yes.
Okay, no, just checking. I don't know.
I would say clearly yes. Yeah, Sasha?
Yeah, it's
3,
not,
2, 3, 2, 1.
it's not the same difference like for like 5 or 6 years ago, but it's still a difference.
Yeah. From a quick technical perspective, so what we know so far, to be honest, at the end, the ESXi will get the capability to look into the VM, figuring out, hey, okay, what amount of memory is really highly utilized, which needs still to stay in the physical RAM of my server. Hey, okay, but there is a load of memory which is not utilized and only has a slow change rate. Then he will offload them directly into NVMe. Firstly, mainly into locally attached NVMe, but in the long run also to shared NVMe.
And that's not the same as swapping.
And that's not the same as swapping. That's the most important part. This is not the same as swapping. Yeah.
Another interesting part I saw was the data services. So announcement of what are the future of this data services. So in the past, we had these 2 options. We can run it within virtual machine, or we can run it in containers. And so for the future, it looks like it will be completely moved then to run in virtual machines. So you can use it more or less for free without support. And if you want to have support for the databases, you need to buy the add-on of the AI license. So that's important to know.
But with DSM, there was a limitation with DSM in the past if you run on vSAN. Like you needed dedicated disks. No, you need the special vSAN option.
Which is come with Ether.
Okay, that's an important information.
You were referring to vSAN Direct.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and vSAN Direct is come with Ether.
Yeah.
So this is something which is
DSM, great future, but vSAN Ether only if you run on vSAN.
Yeah, and talking about vSAN, deduplication will be available on vSAN as well. And now not
ESA.
ESA, vSAN ESA as well. But now not only on an per host phase, but really on the whole ESA cluster, which is quite interesting because now we really can talk about deduplication and not what we know from the past. Let's call it that way. Yeah, and a second announcement has been also done. Tanzu 10 is announced. But also it was a quick and short announcement. Tanzu 10 is here. That's it.
I think it's when you look at it from that perspective, it seems like Explore is really a VCF conference primarily. It's also when you saw the other events and everything surrounding it. Yes, there were certain other scenarios going on. There were a few Tanzu events and stuff like that. But overall, it's a VCF conference. I mean, in the past, Explore or VMworld was also primarily a vSphere conference, but they tried to push more. It felt like everywhere it's VCF, it's VCF. Even the Formula One event, which we attended yesterday evening, which was basically because Hock was there an hour or an hour and a half. So, and Krish and a bunch of other executives were there for a pretty long time period. So that actually showed that that was more or less the closing event for them from the evening. But even that event, which would have easily been possible to run that across different divisions, was only VCF. All signage, everything, VCF only. So I think we will see different scenarios, but maybe in the future it could also be that Tanzu is actually more going to be on KubeCon and not so much here anymore. Omnissa wasn't here, but that was clear from a couple of weeks back when I did the interview with Shankar already. And
one thing to add, because what still has been there and also was in the keynote, but still there is, let's call it a way to integrate all of the divisions. So especially the story Chris McCain presented on the session, saying, hey, okay, I have the customer requirements. Yes, the core layer is VCF. That's not something you can discuss, but then you add vDefend, you add Tanzu, you add SD-WAN. So still there is, let's call it a kind of integration between those divisions. But at the end, this, I would say also Explore is more a VCF event now.
But honestly, so during the keynote, Hock announced the move of operations towards VCF or log. No, it's called Operations for Logs. That's the name. Operations for Log towards the VCF. We have the automation part being moved, so the whole ARIA suite, but it's now vRealize suite again, or whatever, is moved into VCF by the means of integration into a single pane of glass. And I think that's one of the major topics within VCF 9, reduce the consoles you have for management of the infrastructure, make it easier.
But again, that was a customer requirement for many, many, many years. And so what you can also see out of this, as much as people in the outside world keep telling is like, oh, Broadcom is not interested in customers. They are just trying to make fast money and everything else. You would not need to make such a dramatic change on the VMware product if you just were after maintaining the customer base and collecting the money. This is clearly showing that they have a future vision. And I mean, we had dinner with several people we know for many, many years within VMware. And besides all the other talks, it's like some of the feedback was, it's like, because we finally have a certain set of far more direct leadership, things get done. Decisions are being taken, products are going to be integrated, UIs are going to be harmonized so that customers have an easier way in the UIs. Does this mean we will have a dramatic step where customers have to relearn UIs? Most likely, because if you are actually bridging all of them, some will actually fall apart. But
Ja, Orchestration gesagt und dann
Darüber werde ich kein Wort verlieren.
Ich auch nicht, aber ich wollte es dabei.
And we're back.
we are not yet.
If you say no.
Ja,
No.
Say something.
Hello,
Say something,
hello.
do something. Hello. Is it me you are looking for?
Wir sind, glaube ich, jetzt final live dann für die letzten paar Minuten mit dem Notebook, weil alles andere geht nicht.
Dann holst du nach vorne.
Genau.
Ja, dann brauchen wir die Mikrofone.
Nö.
Ah. MacBook Pro.
Or will the mic up if we connect the mics?
No, look, that doesn't work.
Okay, doesn't work.
No,
All right, and we are back.
Was a short interruption.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was quickly talking about the elephant in the room, which is the cloud director discussion. We did not really hear any news, except that what we all knew already from past sessions where people said it's like area automation or now we realize automation or however it's going to be called is going to be integrated with cloud director, but there was really no news around that one.
Yeah.
So that's the news. There is no news.
Yeah, and we can say some words about the tenancy in VCF9. So they announced that there will be a tenancy, but they clearly said in the first versions that's more on developer side and not really to split it to your customers.
But say single workload, single tenant.
The thing is, what they're clearly mentioning within the documents of the release is they're talking about soft and hard tenancy. I don't know, so soft tenancy will be there
Dedicated
in the beginning,
yeah.
and hard tenancy might show up a bit later, and then we need to compare the features of those.
Yeah, and since I would say let's postpone this a little bit to really see what we get, because also one announcement was NSX will be only available in as a form of VPC in the future. Yeah, but let's see what this really shows up and how this really shows up.
Good. So anything else we saw here which we wanted to?
ALB is finally called AVI again. So
That's important.
That's really important because we have it now really integrated in all of the consoles as NSX ALB, and now the name is AVI again.
Yeah, but that's still in the new licenses. So that is named AVI, not longer ALB.
ALB, yeah.
But in the end, we learned they can change UIs now faster. So that's going to be sorted.
But these are the old products.
Yes. But maybe the old name made more sense for people, and maybe Hawk got the feeling that that is much more well recognized, which is also the other part of the story. The more you talk to people, is he seems to be very, very involved in many, many decisions in the end. He really wants to understand what's behind a lot of things. He talks a lot to customers. As I said, it's like at the F1 event yesterday evening, there were roughly, I would say, somewhere between 200, maybe 300 people. Yes. So a relatively small group, and the complete executive team spent an hour and a half, something like that there. And they really tried to talk with many customers, partners, and other people over there to get their feedback. Nearly every talk which I saw or heard, Hawk was questioning is like, how did you like the keynote? How did you like the story? What are we missing? So they are really trying to get the feedback from people on how to make it better. And it's well received. And so there was also no real big bad feeling. But I mean, in the end, no one is actually going to invest the money to fly to Vegas, spend the nights here in the hotel, spend the conference pass, just to come here and say it's like, oh yeah, I hate it. The other part of the story, which I heard from several corners, is some people said it's like, yeah, we are going to show them, we are not going to come. That will set a sign. It's like, trust me, from what I have seen so far, I think that's also a clear sign for them where they say it's like, yeah, you might not be part of the story of family then anymore. It's really they try to do everything to be in relation in talks to customers and everything else. I'm going to be interested to see how this is going to be in a few weeks' time, or a bit more than a few weeks' time, in Barcelona. That's going to be a completely different experience, also from a customer and service provider base. US typically, whether it's customers or service providers, everything is a bit bigger. Europe is much smaller, so there is far more resistance to the VCF and other products from that perspective. The feedback might be different, but they are willing to listen to it for people who still are interested to join the story. This is what we also heard several times, or what I at least heard several times in the last couple of days is, if you are interested to stay in the VMware by Broadcom ecosystem, whether it's as a customer, partner, or something else, they are going to try to make everything work. But if you decided already for yourself that this is not the future for you, that's fine as well. There are no hard feelings for people. And I think that's also a different scenario. Is I think Broadcom makes very clear that they are not necessarily trying to please everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I think that was more or less it here from Las Vegas. We are going to wrap up here. We have one more conference day to go. However, the last day, like in Barcelona and everywhere else, is typically not that busy anymore.
And it ends at 11.
12.
But the hub and so will close at 11.
11 at the 12, everything will be shut down.
Yeah.
Which also is the indication it is VCF. That's it.
And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what we will hear in the next coming weeks after the conferences. Everybody is busy, but you could also see from many people, I would at least say on the VMware by Broadcom, especially on the executive team, you could see a bit of a relief that at least in many areas, the hardest part is done. They knew that they would get beaten up for a few things out of it during the conference. That went pretty good. Actually, it was a communication for them back, but it went pretty well. And now everybody is there to really move ahead and actually get it on.
And also there, since Hawk really, especially at the partner general keynote, Hawk really came to stage and said, hey, we know we did something wrong in the past, and I would really like to say, hey, it was our fault, which also was amazing to see.
Good. So with that being said, I would say goodbye from Las Vegas.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
And see you all again from wherever we are next.
And I think there will be a live stream from Barcelona, but there will be one or two in
I
between.
think so, yeah.
There will be some in between. Barcelona is still in November.
Oh, there are 2 months. Oh.
But still, if you would like to join in Barcelona, reach out to us.
Yeah,
Let's
so
call
that,
it that way.
we can plan it, because in Barcelona we will not have a complete studio and everything like what we had here, but we will make something happen. We are also working on some other events and things around Barcelona, so stay tuned. There will be informations coming and flowing. And then in the meantime, we are going to keep you posted in the next couple of weeks what's going to happen. We are also going to continue our VMware by Broadcom series. Sasha and I are going to actually go out and do some more videos later today, which are going to be released in the next couple of days with some more details and scenarios for that. So see you all again on the next episode.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Take
Bye.
care.